But back in the days, I mean, I don't know about you guys. Did you ever invite your parents to gigs?
Nah.
Yeah.
My
parents
didn't know what I did.
Everywhere I went, they invited them, So
Yeah, you're different.
So in 80, when I came over with the Allman Brothers, I called them up. I said, come down to London. We're going to be there for about a week, okay. So I turned around. I always carried the passports, but I turned around to the Americans. I went, I don't trust you wankers. I've got the band. You crew guys, if you get caught smuggling drugs, you're on your fucking own.
You're on your own.
You're on your own. You don't work for the Allman Brothers. You don't work for anybody. Fuck off. So it's very easy if you got in there, And Barbara, my first wife, she's like, left me a little card, and we got on a tour bus, and she goes, third box of Marlboro, check it out, enjoy yourself. I always took Marlboro home for my mother. So I opened up the third packet, and it's full of joints, fucking perfectly rolled joints with a machine. I went, oh my God, fuck. Thank you, Barbara, So all the crew like guys were all looking at me all pissed off. I went, want a joint? And they were like, what? I went, yeah, I give them all a joint so we fucking smoke up. And, the crew guys, we always arrived a day early to make sure production was all under control. So second night, my mom and dad comes in and we go out for dinner. And I think my two sisters were with me. And we go out and we're fucking legless. I remember driving home drunk as fuck. And my mom looks up and she picks up the pack of Marlboro. And she goes, you don't smoke? I went, no. She goes, oh, there must be this silly cigarettes. And she opens it up. I went, busted. And she goes, well, we better try one of these then, haven't we?
Wagerites on smoke.
Yeah, she pulls the fucking joint out. I'm looking at her and going, Mom. She goes, well, why not? And she lights up a joint. It wasn't like she smoked the whole thing. She had a couple of hits. So, of course, my dad's going, well, I want to fucking try that. So he fucking tried it. The two sisters.
Brilliant.
And we walk into the room, the hotel, the lobby, and he's the Allman Brothers, the old cowboy hats and everything, I always said I was a tour accountant. I didn't have to deal with all that shit. And we walk in, my mum's fucking laughing and bouncing off fucking walls. It was funny as shit. So she looks at Dickie Best and she goes, if you can't fight, wear a big hat, son. And fucking walked away, So I'm like, so anyway, we do all the gigs, et cetera, et cetera. So we finished up in London, going off to Europe. Mum and Dad left, and I'm like, Bill Hoyt comes in, the production manager, pay him all his per diems, all his paychecks. Everybody was out of my hair. Don Boo was the tour manager. He's looking after the band. I'm like, I'm going to smoke a couple of joints, and that's it. Opened up the Marlboro box and the fucking cigarettes.
Your mother had switched them.
No. Opened up the other one, cigarettes. I'm like, oh fuck. No cell phones. Bill Hoyt had picked up the joints and he's on the way to Dover. So he always smokes, and I'm going, he's going to work it out, So talking to Bill Hoyt the next day, he goes, everybody kept giving me cigarettes, so I didn't open up the pack. And he goes, we can just see the white cliffs of Dover. And we're like, okay, guys, the last cigarette. He goes, you've all given me cigarettes. I'll give you one of mine. He opens up. There's about 6 joints left. He goes, okay. There's the customs. Let's get it done right now. And they opened up all the windows. It was like the bus is going down into Dover, like going up in smoke.
Yeah.
All the smoke.
Cheech and Chong. Yeah.
Cheech and Chong. Yeah.
All the smoke's bellowing out. And as soon as they walk in to go, rock band? They can smell it everywhere.
Yeah.
But it was a good little story about the Marlboro box. I called that one. It was fucking classic.
I figured you were going to say your mum liked it. She switched them.
Yeah.
Oh no! Years and years later,
she's on the smack.
Unfortunately, she went through a huge operation, and I just was in town, and I went up to Hartlepool, and she looked like shit, and she was just laying there. She goes, "Do you?" And I went, "Yeah." I brought you some specially, and she'd smoke, and it was really helping.
It helped her.
Yeah,
Helped
totally.
her, yeah.
Totally
It does look great.
medicinal.
Pain, yeah.
The medicine that she was getting was just, putting her to sleep, basically. So she just, sat there and smiled. And it was really funny because I'm going down York Road, and I look out the window, and there's a guy there with a red-tailed hawk in his hand. And my mother's been to America, and she's seen all this, and she goes, that's a red-tailed hawk, son. I went, fucking hell, Mum, you still got that? Yeah, So I got out of the car, I said, I'm going to talk to this guy. I spoke to the guy and he goes, every fucker in Artipost thinks this is a pigeon with a red tail. You know, it's this fucking big, you know. But anyway, that was the last one of my stories of pot, marijuana, coke.
I mean, I can't imagine what my dad would have done if I'd have pulled out like some sort of drugs. Because my dad would be of that ilk, like rack and ruin and
Probably would
the
have shocked
evil.
you. He probably would have shocked you.
I mean, I think I always have a little packet of coke in my wallet. I'm probably sitting in the King Aussie pub with my dad and all his World War II buddies, and I'm like, keeps popping off to the toilet. I'm but they never knew, you know. Alan's up late tonight. I'll go to bed in a minute. He would never know. He wouldn't have understood. I wouldn't have even tried.
We had an ambience coordinator on tour with us. And he'd done several tours with different bands. He worked with Phil Collins, Genesis, Pink Floyd. This one at Pink Floyd, we were in Milan, and we found a nice restaurant, as you do. You know, so we all went out for dinner. Very sociable band, Pink Floyd. We always went out to dinner together. You know, night before a show, because we always had a day off. Be in town the day off.
Never travelled the day of a gig. That's great.
Yeah,
I've done that.
And so we go to this nice restaurant, real nice. We're all sitting there and ordering drinks. And our ambience coordinator orders a bottle of vodka, you know, as a drink. What will you have, sir? I'll have a bottle of vodka. I certainly said, a bottle? Yes, yeah, bottle of vodka. And he's also pulls out his pocket a bottle of liquid Valium.
Yeah.
So he's swigging the vodka, swigging the liquid Valium, and he's out of his tits. Totally out of his tits.
His ambience was all right.
Yeah. And so, and you know, he was getting a bit embarrassing, you know, and the manager or Dave said, Mal, get him out of here, you know, get him out, put him in a taxi, send him back to the hotel. You know, so, okay. And so I've got him stood up, and he you know, he's, oh, come here, Howie. Ambience. Put your arms, and I've got his arms, so I'm like not piggybacking him, but I've got him dragging him behind me, so keeping him straight, right? And we've got to this door, and I've kind of had to let go of him, and he falls backwards. It's this waiter with a fucking armful of food. Food's gone up in the air, come down, all over Mick Hucknall. From Simply Red.
There you go. How appropriate.
So anyway, we get him, and that's it. This was in Milan. They said, Mel, you've got this. So we sent him off. They said he's got to go away for a little while. And there was these two young German girls, you know, of easy virtue, travelling with us as well, you know, and they were in love with this this guy. And so he got sent off to the south of France to Rick Wright had a villa there in Nice, you know, in the hills above Nice. Mm-hmm. So he went there, swimming pool, villa, with these two German hookers. Mm-hmm. And spent a month there while we travelled around.
Oh, brilliant. yeah, that's good.
That's not bad punishment.
Bad punishment. You know, we didn't get rid of him, you know.
You know.
So what is an ambient coordinator?
He was actually the drug dealer.
Yeah.
When you got 140 people on tour, 90% of them are users, and a lot of key personnel were users. You couldn't go off and score. You know, you arrive in Milan, where are you going to go and looking for it? You know what I mean? So our ambience coordinator.
I love that.
So if he got busted, didn't affect the band at all.
Yeah.
You know, nobody was missing, nobody was banged up. You know.
Well,
there's
always
our
somebody
ambience coordinator, and he travelled everywhere with us on the plane, stayed in the same hotels. He used to like to travel with the crew.
Yeah, we had an incident with Wishbone Ash on one of the early tours. Kevin Harrington was personal manager, and ambience
coordinator. He used to like a joint, didn't he, old Harry?
Yeah, so Harry, he had a cowboy. We basically went to a bar.
I know.
After
I was there. Yeah.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa. Yeah.
And so we went. They came in and did ID checks. You got to be 21. I think we were only I was only.
Yeah, I was just. I would have been 21 if I was in America. Yeah.
So, they were trying to bust for.
And we didn't have our IDs with us. That's where it was.
That's right. We didn't have our passports.
Yeah. We said we're English. We don't carry IDs.
So anyway, back to the hotel.
Yeah.
I was sharing a room with Kevin.
Yeah.
And he had some dope in his boot.
Cowboy boots. Yeah.
A lid of grass.
Yeah.
And so me and him, we were both arrested. Spent the night in jail.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they brought in the immigration boys in the morning, and Kevin got deported. I didn't because I wasn't actually carrying.
Yeah.
So I just had
and
to go catch up with the tour.
Yeah.
Which I eventually did.
Oh,
but
no.
Yeah, it's a shame
I was actually there,
Yeah, because he's a lovely guy. But
that was the tour where Ted had a broken leg, didn't he? On that tour. We got him a hooker in Chicago. Oh no, the hooker had a broken leg. That's right.
One leg over easy.
A working girl, so you've got to make a living.
You got a hooker for him, and she was on crutches. She had a broken leg.
Like Don Boo had that boiler in the fucking wheelchair. 2 broken legs.
2 broken legs. She knocked on the door and she goes, "Is Don Boo here?" And I looked at her, I said, "He wants to get 2 legs over easy, love, not fucking down there, Yeah. But on about liquid Valium, I was
drugs again.
Well, it's like, I was doing Shaka Khan. It was in the 90s, and I actually I was a 3-monther doing the Oktoberfests. There was Maze, and the other band will come to me. And anyway, I was at the rehearsals, and I decided to quit drinking. So I wasn't drinking beer or anything, and I always check the bands out. I want to know who's taking drugs, who's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? And it was all the backup singers. And Shaka, well, obviously I knew Shaka from the Average White Band, so I'm like, Shaka, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm not going to put up with it, you know me. Any fucking bullshit from these bitches that are gone, So we get into Germany. Oh, Mother's Finest, that was the other third band.
Okay.
And after the first gig, it was like everybody was playing over. The promoters were fucking pissed off. And I was the only white guy in tour. I was the only white guy. So I'm like, look, you got to work all this stuff out, guys. You can't go over 10 minutes, another 20 minutes to do your equipment shit, So we worked all that out and got back into my little hole with the Shaka Khan stuff. And the backup singers, I'm looking at them and they're catching flies. They're passed out. And I'm going, the fucking... And my brain's going back. And we'd been in Germany for 3 days. And I went, that effing good-looking dude, not that I look at guys, I remember him on the Meatloaf tour, and he's a fucking drug dealer, right? So when they fucking came around, the girls on the tour bus the next day, I said, okay, what do you want? I want it. They're like, no, you're not going to get it. And they bought liquid Valium, So told Shaka, and Shaka was just like, she didn't want to get it, ruffle the feathers. And I was like, Shaka, she goes, yeah, I know, they're not good on stage either. I said, well, get rid of the fuckers. So we finished the gig, I don't know where it was, but we go to Frankfurt. It was an all-day drive. And I said to Shaka, if they're not at the bus at 10 o'clock in the morning, they're done. They've all got the passports. They've got a day to get to the next gig, which is Frankfurt. I'm leaving the fuckers. And she was hanging onto the bus, going, don't do it, don't do it. I went, fuck them, they're out of here. So we left, 3 backup singers turned up the next day and came up to me and went, well, here's the receipts for the flight, here's the receipts for the limos, and this is the receipts for this. I went, I ain't paying you. You can go fuck yourselves. How's that? And they're like, oh. I said, give me the liquid Valium and I'll pay it. And they went, okay, so they give me all the drugs. I went, now fuck off because I'm not paying it. You guys fucked up, right? So I kept all these drugs with me and right through the tour. And by the way, I hadn't touched a fucking beer in 3 months. So I took Shaka back to London, dropped her off, had a day off, which I met up with Molly Duncan, the Average White Band. And he's like, wow, what's going on? I went, well, have you ever had a liquid Valium? He goes, never. I said, well, here, here's a bottle of the fucker. I said, but be very, very careful because, I don't know, I just don't know how you balance it out, but be very careful.
Yeah.
Molly.
He can't resist it.
But what was fun? Anyway, so I picked up Lou Graham from Foreigner the next day, and we went straight back to Berlin. And by the way, when I was with Shaka Khan, it must have been 95. Is that when the Berlin Wall came down?
No, it was before.
No.
93.
1989.
89. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, see, days are gone.
It's that liquid.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at Granny because he always has the dates right.
No, I knew it was 89, yeah.
So when I was with Shaka Khan, the wall was coming down. When I went back with Lou the same week, it was still coming down. It was brilliant, So we went through the whole German thing, got back to England, called Molly. He goes, what the fuck did you give me?
What was that?
I went, what do you mean? He goes, well, Jeannie, I don't know if you remember, they used to manage a hotel.
Oh, yeah. Stayed there.
Yeah, Jeannie, his wife, he goes, she had 3 days off, and she's like, what should we do? And he goes, well, it's some liquid Valium. He goes, Wilkie, she got the whole thing, filled it up, and went, zip. She slept for 3 days.
Could kill her.
Yeah, he goes, she was, I kept giving her food and
That's
stuff.
concentrated stuff.
Yeah, he goes, but I said, what'd you do with it? He said, I fucking chucked it in the bin. You just never know, but it was kind of funny. The chicks were like, airline ticket? Fuck off, I ain't paying nothing. You fucked that up, But
Molly was a professional at it, though. Molly was
totally.
never straight. He was always just at the right amount of buzz.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? I would always go too far, get too drunk, too stoned, and Molly was always just sizzling.
No, he used to he
simmering.
balanced it out.
Yeah.
Wilko, what are we doing today? Nothing. Okay. Tomorrow's a gig day. What are we doing tomorrow apart from the gig? Because, remember, all you young people, in the 70s, we used to deal with Atlantic Records, the record labels, the radio stations all the time because we were going to radio stations. There was no visual, there was no MTV.
Yeah, go and do it.
And it was all touring and get that album out, I said, well, actually, funny enough, and we actually went from Chicago to Cleveland and we're staying at Swingos. That's where we're flying into. And he's like, okay, so none of the radio stations want us. I said, the one is, but you're not involved on this. Alan and Hamish are going to do it. Oh, fucking great. So what do we have left in the drug department? And I'm like, and I'm going, well, we've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, which means we get through the night. And next day,
Something to get you going
somebody
the
would
next day.
pop in and say, it's $10 worth, Oh, fucking great. So off we went. Arrive at Swingos, and we were all in a coffee shop and really party the night before. We always do in Chicago. And looking in the lobby, there's all these fucking older women, like, I wonder who the fuck is coming in. And boom, the doors come flying open, and he's Elvis. It's like, whoa, we're in the same hotel as fucking Elvis.
Yeah. So, talk about name dropping. Elvis. Elvis is in the room.
So we finished. Everybody's like, it was the band, the AWBs was so professional. It was so good. And it was like, we're going to sleep all night. Wilkie, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Good night. So Molly comes to my room, of course, and it's like we're sitting there like, well, we've got 2 J's left and a little bit of that. And so what are we going to do? Oh, I'm sorry, we've got 4 J's left. So let's smoke 2 now. We'll go for a walk. We'll come back. We'll do the other 2. And then we'll go off to fucking bed. It was okay. So we come out the door and there's two black cops stood there. And the smoke's coming out. Hello, what are you doing on this floor? Well, I'm staying here. This is my room. No, this whole floor is Elvis Presley's. You can't be staying there. Well, I am staying there because I just came out of the door. Smoking pot? No. Oh, so now you're lying to me. And I'm going, oh, fucking hell. Molly hadn't even come out of the room, He goes, put your hand behind your head. I went, what? He goes, put your hand. And I've never been arrested in my life. So I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. And he put a cuff on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm getting arrested in Cleveland for smoking a fucking joint. And then we hear, you can't arrest them. That's the average white band. And these 2 black cops are going, AWB! Motherfucker, man! Yeah. And I'm going, and my face was white. I had nothing. My knees were gone, And he took the cuffs off and we're high-fiving, and Molly finally comes out, hey, how you doing, And it was the promoter, sent Paul Gondwell.
All right.
So he goes, hey, yeah, you're playing tomorrow night and today, and he's Elvis. And Elvis was like walking by us, and we're like, hey, he hadn't a clue who the Average White Man was. Shook his hand, and it was like, it wasn't really a shake, it was just like, yeah, he just wanted to walk. So he went by, and
He's on the liquid Valium.
yeah, he was on the liquid Valium.
And everything else.
Probably was.
So that's how we, it was like for about a minute. And then as he's walking by, on the same floor, all the American Airlines stewardesses come on. I was on the same flight as us. And these two black cops are going, how are you getting on this floor? Yeah, because it was supposed to be the whole floor. I'm like, oh, we're down there, And I'm going, what room you in, love? All right, yeah, just carrying on with him, But yeah, I mean, that's how we met him.
Molly was like a professional.
Oh, yeah. He had it down to his vodka, to what he could drink.
Yep.
And the most famous from Molly Duncan was at the Palladium after the backstage before the gig that we had Atlantic Records there with Luther Vandross, Teddy Pendergrass, Marvin Gaye, Joe Cocker, Greg Allman and Cher. That drove me fucking mental. So I threw them all out. It was about 2 minutes before the band went on and the door opens. Wilko, no vodka, no saxophone player. Boom, slammed the fucking door. And he meant it. I'm not fucking going on stage until I get a vodka. Those fuckers drank it, you fuckers.
But you knew Molly would always be reliable.
Yeah.
I was on a tour with the funny little English band called Bill Nelson Orchestra. Used to be with Bebop Deluxe.
Yeah.
Well, he had this weird 3-keyboard band, and Pete Donovan got me involved with it. Anyway, so we did it. We did a gig in San Francisco, and I saw that the Eurythmics, who Molly was playing with at the time,
Right.
Eurythmics were doing the Warfield or whatever in San Francisco. So I thought, well, I can't see the gig. Let's think, Molly Duncan. He'd stay at the Miyako Hotel. If he had any choices, he so I go up the hill
Lovely
to the
place,
Miyako Hotel. I walk in at the lobby. I said, "Hello, I'm looking for a very good friend of mine, Malcolm Duncan. He'd be with the Eurythmics. Can you tell me what room?" "Oh, I can't do that, sir." I said, "Well, am I allowed to find him?" I said, "Well, I said, a very good friend of his." So I thought, well, he wouldn't be in the new, he'd be in the old. I wish I had a tower. I figured. Yeah. So I go in, and I go to the first floor, and I'm walking up and down the corridor, and I'm walking, and I get to this one room on the second or third floor. I get music, and Molly Duncan's in there. So Molly doesn't know I'm in town. But with all the years with the Average White Band, a number of times we've gone back to each other's rooms and all that was. So I knocked on the door. Everything was very quiet. Music goes down. "Hello?" I said, "Molly, let me in." He goes, "Granny?" "Yeah, come on." And he lets me in, and he's like, "What? Am I on an Average White Band gig? I thought I was with the Eurythmics." "Hoot, Molly." And he's just like, looking at me like, "How did you find me, man?" Molly, I said, we go way back. Anyway, spent about half an hour, 30 minutes there, had a fucking couple of toots, a few drinks, and he was like, "See you later, man." It was just classic. Because you knew that's where and I found him just by, I knew he'd be in a room with the music just the right level, and a little ambience going on, Here's to Molly, 3 years almost coming up. He was a great bloke, almost 3 years since he died.
Yeah, we got together with him in New York at the Mayflower Hotel. It was fucking classic. But yeah, he used to balance it out, not like do it all. Say, well, my body can only do a certain amount, and got 24 hours to do a gig.
And him and Jeannie were a perfect couple.
Yeah.
They're both exactly the same in that respect.
Let's not overdo it. Let's just have a nice time. Move on.
Right.
Okay, so
all this talking about smoking is making me hungry.
Yeah.
Lunch break?
Should we have a little lunch break? Or?
Yeah, let's have a little
munchies after it's.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They make me hungry.
Okay.
Cheesy bean pasta.
Have another line that'll take the edge off your appetite.
Right. That is the Rock and Roll Rowdies talking about the days of when we used to do the old. And yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you want to hear more Rock and Roll Rowdies, join us on the Facebook. Facebook.com, Rock and Roll Rowdies.
Yeah. Oh, Podbean. Should we push that?
Yeah, we can push that.
We can do that.
That was fun.